Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Got to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, the Most High, the Heavenly Father. His Hebrew name is Yahweh, not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Ahia. It's Yahweh. His only begotten son name is, in the Hebrew, Yahweh Shai, not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christus, not Yeshaya. It's Yahweh Shai in the Hebrew. So gotta give all honor, praises, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah, Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the octane, pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning, the few sisters who are listening and learning. I'm Isaiah from the GMS Orlando camp, coming at you with another lesson in true facts, faith, and edification, another daily edification, Lord's willing. This be edifying. And this is Chanting Down Babylon the Great. This is Chanting Down Babylon the Great. Lord willing to be edifying.
Our forests. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen.
Well, according to these headlines, you are doing badly.
Of cases of coronavirus around the world is quickly closing in on 1 million. And here in the United States, President Donald Trump said modeling shows that between 100 and 240,000 people could die before this crisis is over. Now, we wanted to take another global look at how countries around the world are being affected. And for that, we're joined by RT correspondent Saya Tavenger. Saya, thank you so much.
And every time they go up every day on how many people could die, man. Okay? Hey, this is their media propaganda, man. Every day they go up, man. Because they already know how many people they're trying to kill.
Brent, today we're seeing a record number of deaths recorded in a single day in the U.S. as 865 people lost their lives to the disease. Now, that number of deaths puts America's death toll to over 4,300. And then moving over to Europe, the virus has now claimed more than 30,000 lives in Europe alone, in what the head of the United Nations has described as humanity's worst crisis since World War II. And here's a graph that I want you to look at. And
It say I'm watching the news. It say over 1,000 NYPD officers have coronavirus, have COVID-19. Over 1,000, man.
May have them once they put that up for you that I want to go over with in terms of what's flattening out. Now, here you see U.S., Spain, and Italy, and you see all those cases are going up. Now, the only three countries currently that have actually flattened out are Japan, South Korea, and China. And looking at U.S., Spain, and Italy, those aren't actually just unique to those countries. Almost every other country around the world, you're going to see cases going up. But only these three countries, you see some sort of numbers actually flattening out and not increasing. So that is good news at the moment.
And Saya, now, can you give us a little bit of an update on some of these countries that maybe we didn't talk about recently and maybe aren't getting as much attention when it comes to the number of cases that they're seeing?
Well, let's go to South Africa, which is actually some of the toughest coronavirus lockdown regulations in the world, but enforcing them has not been easy. Right now, security forces are actually firing rubber bullets at anyone defying orders to stay at home. And that puts South Africa, the country, at more than 1,300 reported cases with 55 deaths. And then, although the number might appear low compared to some other countries, it's still the most in any other country in Africa. And that main issue is that authorities are worried that the virus could actually spread to the poorer areas where it would be almost impossible to provide proper medical attention. And then there's Jordan, which has been under total lockdown since March 14th. After just a few cases began to appear around the country, the government took extraordinary measures, including implementing very strict emergency laws where the Jordan armed forces and police were deployed to patrol the kingdom's streets, enforcing very strict curfew. And because of all these immediate measures, Jordan has about 274 confirmed cases and 5 deaths. And that's very low compared to its neighbors like Israel, that has more than 5,500 confirmed cases with 22 deaths, and then Saudi Arabia with over 1,700 confirmed cases and 16 deaths.
Now, bringing it back to what's happening in Latin America and the Caribbean, can you tell us about what's going on there?
Well, Brent, from Mexico City to Port-au-Prince, all the way to Santiago, Chile, this is taking root in the world's most unequal social class systems, where the first cases of the virus actually arrived by the wealthy returning from vacations or work from places like Europe and the US, where it's now spread to the poor areas in the country. But unlike many of the wealthy who are recovering, medical experts are really worried that the virus could kill thousands of the poorest people. And I'm referring to the ones who must work every single day to feed their families, living in such extreme conditions that they even lack clean water and proper medical care. For example, in Haiti, the Western Hemisphere's poorest country, reported its first 2 cases of the virus on March 20th. The first was actually brought into the country by Haiti's most successful R&B singer, who had just returned from France and is now currently in quarantine. But for hundreds of thousands of Haitians who earn just a few dollars a day selling goods on the streets, quarantine would mean near like starvation. And then there's Chile, which has seen cases grow to more than 3,000, but most have been in the upper class neighborhoods, in people just back again from Europe, particularly Italy. And then there is Mexico, where authorities say at least 17 of the country's wealthiest people return after being infected during a ski trip to Vail, Colorado, which puts Mexico's confirmed cases to over 1,200 with 29 deaths. So, Brent, although the U.S. is leading the number of confirmed cases, it might not take long before that spreads even further globally, because just 6 weeks ago here in the U.S., we only had 60 cases. So,
fascinating information. We'll look for more updates from you, Saya. Thank you so much.
And Trump said what? What did he say? Let's go back to this.
When I spoke at this forum 2 years ago, I told you that we had launched the great American comeback. Today, I'm proud to declare that the United States is in the midst of an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen before.
What? Really?
Our trees and our forests. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 19th.
Now you see, he said they're doing good.
The epidemic is bringing China to its knees, and it spreads along the supply chains. In Europe, the most affected will be Germany and Italy. The coronavirus is way more grave than they make it seem. Millions of Chinese are stuck in cities in complete lockdown. By now, it is spreading across the states in Europe. There are cases in France, Spain, and the UK coming in. It is spreading in the USA as well. Amazon and others have pulled their attendance from the big event in Barcelona. The hotels are empty. Airlines are canceling flights en masse. The Chinese GDP will contract by more than 5% in the first quarter of 2020. Its tourist industry has collapsed. Tourism is 10% of Chinese GDP. 60 million people will not be visiting China this year. The global supply chain has collapsed. Delivery of consumption goods, etc. to the world and USA is cratering. China is disintegrating. The virus is bad enough, but the economy is shutting down. We won't be able to get the things we need to survive. For instance, America grows a lot of food as long as there is chemical fertilizer. The unfortunate thing is that we don't make fertilizer here, or at least not enough to support our population. The whole planet is going to shut down due to the virus, or as a ripple effect of other countries shutting down due to the virus. Meanwhile, most stocks are hovering around their all-time highs. Remember that after the SARS breakout, we went down to minus 40% in some sectors. And SARS was nothing compared to this one. It seems simplistic to think that China can register a positive growth rate this year. Just the loss of 3 weeks in total would be enough to wipe out 6% of Chinese GDP this year. Too pessimistic? If anyone thinks that China will return to work soon as if nothing had happened, he deludes himself big time. All this reminds me of 1929 all over again. Only the star of the show has been replaced. In 1929, the USA was the world's cheapest producer of goods and agriculture. Totally first in the mechanization of production, i.e. railroads, tractor combines, auto assembly. And a new way to play the market. Then it broke. China produces but kept 1800 sanitation and food supply, their downfall, but will it spread? 400 million people quarantined, and the second largest economy grinds to a halt. It's like a thermonuclear weapon hits China. The blame lies with primarily Bill Clinton. He gave China most favored nation trade status. That cooked our goose because China cheats like it's no one's business. For a starter, we must bring back our pharmaceutical industry from China. They are going the way of a big civil war. Welcome to the Atlantis Report. The broad policy direction for many of the world's central banks and governments now hinges on one question: how will the Chinese government respond to the economic shock caused by the coronavirus? The impact of the current coronavirus epidemic has already been...
And that word government mean mind control. Control minds, man.
Felt in the automotive sector, which represents the heart of industrial manufacturing not only in China but, for example, also in Germany. Automotive plants throughout China have been ordered by the Beijing government to remain closed after the Lunar New Year holidays. Volkswagen, FCA, Toyota, Daimler, General Motors, Renault, Honda, and Hyundai have stopped production in what is the world's largest automotive market. According to S&P analysts, auto production in China dropped by 15% in the first quarter of 2020 compared to the same period in 2019. But the repercussions go back along the entire supply chain. FCA has announced that one of its European plants may have to stop production in 2 to 4 weeks due to supply problems from 4 Chinese suppliers due to the blockage caused by the epidemic, and that it is looking for alternative solutions to avoid this situation. In the last few days, the same fate had happened in Hyundai for its plants in South Korea, while Volvo had to change the supplier of batteries for hybrid vehicles in order not to stop production due to the stop of imports from China. And not only. The global supply lines that are in crisis due to the stop caused by the epidemic to their Chinese suppliers are not limited to the auto sector. Qualcomm, the world's largest smartphone chip maker, warned that the epidemic was causing significant uncertainty about smartphone demand and supplies. Luxury goods producers are also under fire. The British brand Burberry has closed 24 of its 64 stores in mainland China. At least 60 airlines have reduced or stopped flights to and from China. Australia's tourism industry is losing an estimated $1 billion a month from the Chinese tourist ban. China is Australia's #1 tourism market, delivering 1.4 million visitors a year and contributing about $12 billion annually to the economy. Mohamed El-Arian, chief economist of Allianz, told CNN Business that the potential cascading economic effects are extremely worrying. They first paralyzed the region of the virus epidemic, said El-Arian, so they gradually spread to the national level, undermining internal trade, consumption, production, and the movement of people. If the process spread further, even on a continental and international level, trade, supply chains, and tourism would stop. Asian central banks cut rates. In response to the crisis, the People's Bank of China cut the base interest rate and injected huge amounts of liquidity into the markets to help reduce pressure on banks and borrowers. The Beijing government also announced new tax breaks and subsidies to support internal consumption. The central banks of Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Thailand, and the Philippines have also cut interest rates in recent weeks, while South Korea and Taiwan may follow shortly. The problem, however, is that since 2014 the European Central Bank has already had negative rates, a situation similar to that of the Bank of Japan, while the US Federal Reserve has already cut interest rates 3 times last year and is closely monitoring the situation. It is unlikely that a response to the global crisis triggered by the Chinese epidemic could instead come from fiscal stimuli in the European Union. On the other hand, the economic situation in the old continent was not the best, even before the outbreak of the epidemic. In December, Germany saw a dramatic contraction in industrial production, with -3.5% on an annual basis, which is the worst figure since the 2008-2009 recession. In Italy, however, the experience of citizenship income so far does not seem to have generated significant results in terms of an increase in domestic consumption and gross domestic product, which in the fourth quarter of last year fell by 0.3%, with the worst figure being 2013. With the 2 main EU manufacturing countries and 2 of China's main production and commercial partners already in difficulty, 2020 does not bode well for the European economy at all. China as the new Chernobyl of globalism. If you visit, you die. Leave your relocated business behind and run to the safety of anywhere. The US had an approved trade agreement. Or back to the US. You decide. Toyota factories still closed. The Chinese economy has actually been stopping for a month between a New Year's Eve break and the stop imposed by the authorities on businesses to avoid spreading the infection. Factories and offices must remain closed until the end of February, inclusive, but several companies will extend the closure. The Japanese automaker Toyota, for example, announced a 1-week delay in resuming production from its factories in China. We have decided to keep the suspension of all Toyota factories in China, a group spokesman told the AFP agency. Clash at OPEC on cutting oil production. Meanwhile, the consequences of the Chinese slowdown, starting with the sharp stop to the purchase of crude oil, are causing divisions among the oil-producing countries. Russia will take a position on a possible further reduction in oil production in the next few days, said Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak. On Thursday, Russia opposed the recommendation of the OPEC Plus Technical Committee at the extraordinary meeting in Vienna to cut production by an additional 600,000 barrels a day to stop the price drop caused by the coronavirus epidemic in China. We will see how the situation develops in the coming days, said the minister to Russian agencies, without specifying how Russia will make its position known. According to rumors, Saudi Arabia would push for a further reduction from 800,000 to 1 million barrel per day and had proposed a compromise solution of 600,000 barrels. Since the consent of all the participants is required within OPEC+, the meeting ended without results. We want to continue consultations to determine the optimal measures acceptable to all exporters to regulate the market without sudden changes that would be harmful to producers and consumers, explained Russian diplomat Sergei Lavrov. China purchases more than 2/3 of its crude oil from OPEC member countries and their allies, primarily the cartel leader Saudi Arabia, followed by Russia. After losing almost 15% since the beginning of the year, oil prices had slightly recovered pending OPEC Plus decisions. According to some analysts, Russia is reluctant to cut production further, mainly because its oil companies and the government need revenue. The Russian budget remains heavily dependent on oil revenues. But the new government is mobilizing huge resources for an important investment plan to revive the ailing economy and achieve President Putin's goals before the end of his term in 2024. The good thing about this is the US companies who fired their workers then hired China to make their products may very well bite the turf rather soon. Maybe once the deadwood is cleared out, America can get back to making its own products and looking after its own people. The loss of a week of work for all of China due to the extension of the holidays for the Chinese New Year is an already acquired fact. For the future, it is necessary to understand when the isolation of the Hubei province, 60 million inhabitants, will end, when public buildings, shopping centers, and large exhibition areas reopen, when the large multinationals, Chinese and international, will trust to reopen factories. To understand a week of quarantine is equivalent to a loss of GDP for the current year of 2%. 2 weeks equals a 4% loss, and so on. 65 million apartments that are empty there in China. 65 million. Ghost cities everywhere. And now all commerce is stopping. This is just the beginning for them. Another few months of this, and that is it. Then phase 2 begins. China is toast. This is what happened to them for thousands of years. They are all but done at this point. No way out for them now. They went for the bucks but forgot to take appropriate measures to secure their own safety measures. When you cut corners, you end up like this. They moved too far, too fast. Now they are in the worst possible place you can be. Slave labor, Ebola pork, chemicals, world's worst smog, crashing economy, the revolution in Hong Kong, you name it. It is just like that Tom Cruise movie War of the Worlds. It was the littlest of things that got them in the end. Greed got China. Now they are paying for it. World War III could be next, folks. This was the Atlantis Report.
World War III will be next, man. That's prophecy. Okay? But first, the RFID microchip, which is the mark of the beast, have to be implemented. Now, this is the best that these devils can do to try to save their kingdom, which is the spirit of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, to put it on these devils to push this agenda. So, why would they use, well, I ain't gonna say why would they use, they set up this false prophet to make it seem like they can help, but they can't help, man. And it's all, like I said, it's all just media propaganda, man.
I'll exercise judgment right now.
Because we
In the name of Jesus.
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Standing in the office of the prophet of God.
I want you to listen to this witchcraft.
I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer, you get out, you break your power, you get out.
What? What did he say? This guy's crazy. Hold on.
Office of the prophet of God. I execute judgment on you, COVID-19. I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer, you get out, you break your power, you get off this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand a vaccination to come immediately.
Yes.
He demanded a vaccination to come immediately. What about the Heavenly Father, God, intervening and doing something? Why they need a vaccine? Because they want everybody to take the RFID microchip, man, which is the mark of the beast. This is Isaiah 47:10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thy enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. So, that's what you see going on. They standing now with their enchantments, man. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators, stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame, which is going to be from them intercontinental ballistic missiles. There shall not be a coal to warm it, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee, with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants, from thy youth. Okay? All the elites got generational wealth. It's talking to them and their nobles, man. They shall wander every one to his quarter, none shall save thee. So you see, the point is, stand now with thy enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. North America, Babylon the Great, is the land of the Chaldeans, man. It's the land of what? The witchcraft, warlocks, and wizards, man. Okay? And witches. Let's run this back.
Exercise judgment right now.
Because we have...
In the name of Jesus.
Oh, thank you.
Tell my let him exercise judgment right now. Hey, these devils, they got the greatest devil of them all, man. Kenneth Copeland, man. Okay, they talking about they rebuke Satan. That's your father, man. Okay? Because you are the physical seeds of Satan.
Standing in the office of the prophet of God.
What God? They ain't talking about the Heavenly Father Yahweh. They talking about the spiritual demon Satan, man.
I execute judgment on you, COVID-19.
Oh,
I execute judgment on you, Satan, you destroyer, you killer, you get out, you break your power, you get off this nation. I demand judgment on you. I demand a vaccination to come immediately.
Yes.
Why not help from the Most High on high? Why not pray that the Lord heal? Which he ain't, but just showing you how wicked they is. Why they say he demand a vaccination immediately? Because he telling, hey, come on, bring the chip, man. We ready to take it, man. Okay? And this from his point of view, this is what he's saying. Hey, the world look ready to take the chip, man. Come on and push the chip. Everybody ready to take it. Come on, bring the mark of the beast. We demand it immediately. Bring the RFID microchip. Everybody is ready now.
I call you done. I call you gone. You come down from your place of authority, destroyer. You come down and you crawl on your belly like God commanded you when he put his foot on your head.
He was talking to you Edomites, man. Come down and sit and come down and you was gonna be brought low and you was gonna be on your belly. You should eat dust all of thy life. He was talking to you Edomites when he said that, man.
In the Garden of Eden, you will destroy through COVID-19.
He said you are the basis of men, man. Okay, and everywhere you go, you do what? You bring confusion, man.
No more.
No more. No more.
It
No more.
is finished.
Finished.
Nah, this was what, 2 days ago. Now today they got 200,000 in some cases now, but 2 days ago it only was 100 and some thousand cases. So what happened? What happened to the demand of the vaccination? And there still ain't no vaccine. So what happened? False prophet, a fake prophet.
It is over. And the United States of America is healed and well again, saith the mighty
Hallelujah. Glory.
of peace, who is also the Prince of War, the Lord Jesus Christ.
Who is that, man? Who is that? Who is Jesus Christos, man? He just a man like everybody else. He back right now trying to save his own life, man, which he would not be saved.
Oppressive, mean, nasty people attack his people. When mean, oppressive, nasty diseases attack his people, George, the Prince of Peace takes his place. And he becomes the mighty man of war.
You see that? This guy's bugged out, man. This guy's bugged out. Read this again, Isaiah 47:12. Stand now with thine enchantments and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. Hey, when they came over here and conquered North America, Babylon the Great, okay, from Gad and Reuben, what did they do, man? They came in the name of Jesus Christos, in the name of Christianity, man. Okay? Hey, they Freemasons. They've been pushing witchcraft since they got here, man. Stand now with thy enchantments and with thy multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. You see, this was a couple days ago, man. Now the the coronavirus number done ended up since then, man. Okay. Hey, the Lord say, hey, thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. So let your false prophets and pastors and your noblemen and your kings save you from this, man. Because this is from on high, man. And since he did this video right here, hey, it done got worse, man. So what happened? What happened, man? These devils is losing it, man. They losing followers, okay, on a big level, man. And they losing their so-called power, man. Babylon the Great has no more power, man. It's done. It's finished. What did the scripture say? Jeremiah 51. She can't be healed, man. This is Jeremiah 51, verse 7. Babylon had been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore the nations are mad. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If it so be, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. She can't be healed, man. This place is done, man. Okay, the Lord put a spirit on these devils to crash the economy so they can bring in the RFID microchip, man, which is the mark of the beast. The Lord is doing that, man. This is spiritual, man. Hey, so just want to show how these devils is trying to find another way out, man. Okay, with their sorceries, man. But it's over, man. They have no more power, man. As the scriptures say, let's read it. Isaiah 14. Isaiah 14 and 10. All they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we? Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vows, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. That's total corrosion, man. That's total corruption. From the inside out, man. This place is done, man. Let's get one more. Jeremiah 50 and 23. This is Jeremiah 50 and 23. How was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? The broken reed, the seat of confusion is broken down. How is Babylon become a desolation among the nations? How? Through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. That's how, man. That's how, man. It's the Lord, man. Jeremiah 50 and 23. How was the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken. How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, and thou wast not aware. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua. So, hey, the hammer of the whole earth, Babylon, the great North America, is finished, man. And it's beautiful, man. The Lord is showing his power. Hey, he said he was going to work in your day. Do what was told to you, you would not believe it. You see? Hey, so Lord Williams edifying. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shah, Bahashim, Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. And a sincere salutation to all the occupants pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopefully elect. And shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning. A few sisters who are listening and learning. Lord witness is edifying. Until next time, I say shalom. Oh, I gotta play this one more time too. Must need play this one more time. It's for the road.
To embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them. And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening, man. Okay? It's happening, man. So, hey, Lord will edifying. Shalom.